At the heart of Donald Trump's administration, two key figures sent public messages with different tones about Iran and Israeli operations in Lebanon. J.D. Vance, the vice president, criticized bombings that, according to him, hinder the peace efforts led by the United States. Marco Rubio, on the other hand, defended the Israeli actions as a legitimate response to Hezbollah's attacks. The war between the United States and Iran began in February, with American attacks aimed at degrading the military capabilities of the Tehran regime. In the following months, American and Israeli forces carried out operations that, according to official assessments, eliminated or damaged a large part of the Navy, Air Force, anti-aircraft systems, and Iranian missile launchers. The conflict extended to Lebanon, where Israel intensified attacks against the group, Iran's main proxy group on the northern border. Even with Iran militarily weakened, the human cost and the risk of regional escalation still remained high. In this context, the Trump administration pursued a negotiated solution. On June 17, Washington and Tehran signed a memorandum of understanding establishing an immediate and permanent ceasefire on all fronts, including Lebanon, with a 60-day implementation period, which establishes an immediate and permanent ceasefire on all fronts, including Lebanon, for negotiations on a final agreement. The document calls for an end to mutual military operations and respect for each side's sovereignty, the gradual withdrawal of the American naval blockade against Iran within 30 days, and the lifting of sanctions on Iranian oil exports. Iran, in turn, commits to ensuring safe passage for commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz for 60 days without charging any tolls, and to maintain the status quo of its nuclear program during the talks. A reconstruction plan of at least USD billions of dollars for Iran, financed by regional partners, is also expected to be detailed in the final agreement. J.D. Vance played a central role in drafting this memorandum. As vice president, he participated directly in the negotiations and signed the digital version. Tehran, in agreement with the UN, released throughout Tehran, at the UN, the government willing to guarantee with the UN, release willing to guarantee Tehran's oil. His approach prioritized pragmatism, capitalizing on the military pressure already exerted to obtain concrete concessions, without prolonging a conflict that was already causing wear and tear. He wins. He accepted Iranian proposals such as an immediate ceasefire and the creation of de-escalation channels, including the possibility of an Iranian intelligence officer acting as a liaison with the Pentagon. In Qatar, J.D. Vance publicly defended the agreement with an optimistic tone, highlighting that the Gulf countries could contribute to Iran's reconstruction, and also mentioning the prospect of a more cooperative relationship between Washington and Tehran in the long term. For Vance, the signed memorandum represents a solid foundation, stopping the fighting, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, and using the next 60 days to resolve more complex issues, such as the fate of the Iranian enriched material and the nuclear program. If you want access to full analyses with exclusive content that isn't released publicly here on the channel, become a channel member for just J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance's strategy makes sense in a context where Iran had already lost much of its conventional power projection capability. Maintaining pressure indefinitely risked wearing down American resources, greater involvement of proxy groups, and a possible prolonged interruption of oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz. Accepting a ceasefire conditioned on verifications allowed turning battlefield gains into diplomatic gains without demanding Tehran's immediate total surrender. Marco Rubio, as Secretary of State, took a more reserved stance. While traveling through the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Bahrain, he sought to reassure Gulf allies concerned about the pace and depth of concessions to Iran. Rubio explicitly defended Israeli operations in Lebanon as a justified response to Hezbollah's attacks. When asked about J.D. Vance's criticism, he avoided direct confrontations, but emphasized that any final agreement needs to be foolproof and that the United States does not want a deal at any cost. Rubio also made it clear that discussing funding for Iranian reconstruction by Gulf countries is still a long way off. His immediate priority is to ensure that the negotiations over the next 60 days produce more robust terms, especially regarding the nuclear program and the containment of Iran's regional threats. While J.D. Vance traveled to Switzerland for technical talks and maintains a constructive tone with the Iranians, Rubio has worked behind the scenes to align allies' expectations and toughen the conditions of the final agreement. The divergence between the two is not just rhetoric or something being invented by newspapers that don't like Donald Trump. The vice president, with personal concerns and skepticism regarding interventions and prolonged attacks against Iran, sees the memorandum as an opportunity to end the conflict. Expensive after weakening the opponent. Rubio, whose views are more aligned with the traditional strong containment approach against Iran, fears that quick concessions could be exploited by Tehran or its proxy groups. This difference became evident in the statements about Israel. Vance warned that Israeli criticism of the agreement and bombings of civilian infrastructure in Beirut could undermine American diplomatic efforts. Rubio, on the other hand, reiterated Israel's right to defend itself. The administration as a whole denies any internal split and states that everyone follows Donald Trump's guidance. Even so, the American president himself joked publicly that if the deal works out, he gets the credit. If it goes wrong, the blame falls on J.D. Vance. This analysis doesn't end here, but if you want to watch the full video, follow our members lead. Just become an exclusive channel member for only 7 Rs and 99 cents per month. Simply click the Become a Member button. Share your thoughts below. Do you think these differences between Vance and Rubio will hinder or help the final agreement? Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos.